My name is Allan Cain. I'm Director of Development Workshop in Angola. We are working on a climate change project in the coastal regions of the country, from Cabinda in the north, Luanda, and Benguela in the central part of the southern coast. Well, the main problem is actually inherited from the years of war. The civil war in Angola started at independence in 1975 and lasted almost 20 years, almost 30 years in fact. During those years, the climatic or the meteorological stations, the water stations that collected hydrology information were destroyed. And these were the years when most of the climate change happened in this period. So we have a period really up until 2002 when there was almost no climatic information being gathered. At the same time, there was a massive shift of populations caused by the conflict in the interior of the country to the coastal regions. Because of the increased variability in rainfall, we get more intensive storms, there's severe flooding, and these affect particularly the people living in these low-lying basins along the coast. Poverty is another issue that is chronic in the slums of Angola, and people have tended to seek places to build their houses in some of the cheapest lands, those tend to be lands that are more susceptible to flooding and erosion. Well, our program aims at trying to begin to fill in that gap of information that is missing, that 30 years of lack of information. And we're doing that, one, by trying to reconstruct some of the historical data, going back into archives, even in Portugal and Britain, where some of the colonial archives have been stored. But more importantly, to gather the stories and the oral histories from people who have lived through this period of time. Memories of village elders, women in the community who have memories about the flood years and the drought years. And we're starting to reconstruct information also from journals, from newspapers. We've been able to archive over the last 10 or 15 years. We've been able to use satellite imagery, geographic information systems, remote sensing, together with data that we've collected through communities, we've conducted over 5,000 interviews, household interviews in those areas, and we're able to start to put together maps of those risk areas in each of the three urban centers. We're finding between 5 and 10% of the people living in these coastal cities are living in highly risky areas. We're gathering information also around their access to water and problems of sanitation, and more than 50% of the populations in these cities don't have access to potable drinking water in their homes. What we found is that we're able to actually produce what we're calling participatory risk maps that show the areas that where there are high incidents of diarrheal, malarial diseases, but also areas that are susceptible to flooding and erosion. So we're able to construct risk maps for each of the urban areas, and these are useful and very essential information for urban planners, for developing municipal plans in these cities. There's been a lot of interest from the Ministry of Urbanism and Housing. The Ministry of Urbanism is also responsible for developing strategic plans around urban development, and looking at ensuring that cities grow in a way that avoid occupation of these environmentally risky areas.